I think from what Anesu has said, abortion is a big issue in Zimbabwe. As she has said, there are 80,000, 90,000 abortions that are taking place in Zimbabwe every year. And that translates to a figure of 219 to 250 abortions per day, which averages, she says, to a minimum of 9 abortions per hour. So as we are sitting here, somewhere in some backstreet laboratory, somewhere in some hut, an illegal abortion is taking place. And a third of those people that are aborting, they actually die. The mother and the child actually die. And unfortunately, the majority of people that are actually dying in those backstreet abortions are children. And children are defined to mean any person below the age of 18. So WIUSA found itself with a problem. Women's organizations found themselves with a problem. The problem that they had was that we had a law and a constitutional judgment in 2016 that said that young children can't be married. So the case of Mudzuri and others outlawed child marriages. However, that judgment was pyrrhic. That judgment was hollow in that whilst women, children, adolescent children could no longer be married, there was nothing that prevented sex from those children. So, in fact, one of the ironies that that judgment brought was a man saying, I can't marry you, I really wanted to marry you. You are 17 years of age. But the court said, I can't marry you, but I can still have sexual intercourse with you. So it was a contradiction in terms. Fortunately, the Constitutional Court, through again the fight brought by women's organizations, in the case of Diana Eunice Kawenda, said the age of sexual consent is 18. So you can't marry before the age of 18, you can't have sex before the age of 18. But we had a problem. Whether the law says there will not be adolescent sex, we know that there will be adolescent sex. The question that arose then was, what happens to a child, to an adolescent, who then finds himself pregnant from an act of sexual activity that the Constitution has outlawed? And this is where WIUSA came in now and said, we have to protect children. It's abusive. It's unconstitutional for a child to carry another child. So they went to court. But when they went to court, they were facing a challenge in that, as Anos says, legal abortion in Zimbabwe is sparse. The provision of the law is very restrictive. The law says you can only have access to abortion if the pregnancy is a threat, a serious threat to the health of the mother, the physical health of the mother, which means only in exceptional circumstances. The law also then says you can have abortion if the pregnancy is as a result of unlawful intercourse, as defined in section 2(1) of the Termination of Pregnancy Act. Unlawful intercourse is defined to mean rape or prohibited incest. Not all incest is unlawful intercourse, but of some degree. You can't sleep with your sister, you can't sleep with your child, and so forth. You can't sleep with your cousin. But the distant relationship, they are not. So, to the extent that unlawful sex with an adolescent was not defined as unlawful intercourse for the purposes of section 2(1) of the Termination of Pregnancy Act, WIUSA's argument was that leaving that, excluding this unlawful intercourse with children from the definition of unlawful intercourse, which allows legal abortion, was unconstitutional. The other thing that we also had a problem with was, a few years ago, after years and years of struggle by women's organizations, marital rape was criminalized. And marital rape is now a reality in Zimbabwe, because you've got thousands and thousands of our people that go in the diaspora. So the wife goes to the diaspora, the husband remains and marries another woman. His life goes on. He has My Day, he has Susan, he has Sylvia. The wife comes on holiday. They've been separated for 10 years. The husband, who has moved on, knocks on the door at the hotel where the wife is staying and says, "You are still my wife. I want to sleep with you." The wife says, "But you have moved on." And remember, most marriages in Zimbabwe are unregistered customary law unions. So the divorce is not formal. Munanongopiwa gupuro, and that's that. So there was a problem until the government came to the aid of women and said marital rape is a crime. If you sleep with someone and allege you are my wife simply because you had a matrimonial liaison, it becomes a crime. So, but there was a problem now. This woman then gets pregnant. She, of course, has been raped, but it's still marital rape, but it's not one of those things that are defined in the definition of unlawful intercourse for the purposes of Section 2.1. So we also then say that you can't exclude marital rape from the definition of unlawful intercourse. Marital rape should also be defined as unlawful intercourse. The court, the High Court of Zimbabwe, gave a very progressive judgment. The court said, if we protected children and said children can't be married, in the case of Mudzuri in 2016, and the age of sexual consent is 18, as we said in the Diana Eunice Kawenda case in 2022, then surely we must allow this child who has been a victim, because the child is deemed not capable of having, of saying yes to in sex. We must protect this child by allowing her to have access to lawful abortion. And given the huge numbers, the terrible statistics of 9 abortions per hour, of which a third are illegal, it makes sense that the law protects and gives access to legal abortion to these young children. And I want to thank Wilson, because we live in a very conservative society. So some aspects of our society might not accept how important this is. But if anyone there is a father or a mother or an aunt, you know the reality that our children are being abused. Whether we like it or not, our children are sexually active before the age of 18. And more so in the rural areas. The majority of young people that are going through illegal abortions are actually people from the rural areas, people that are poor. Those in Borodale will take their children through a first-class ticket to Senton for a legal abortion at a Mary Stoppers center. So it is the people who are in Dotito, in Chendambuya, in Nkai, in Cholocho. Those are the young children that are dying. So WILSA needs to be commended. What is the next step from here? The next step from here is that in terms of Section 175, subsection 1, the Constitutional Court must now confirm this judgment. We are very hopeful that the Constitutional Court will confirm this judgment, for it is the same Constitutional Court that gave us the case of Mudzuri, the child marriage case, that gave us the case of Diana Eunice Kawenda. So I'm very, very hopeful that the court will continue in its very progressive, assertive role in protecting women and in protecting children. But once again, let me thank WILSA and the Progressive Women's Movement for a very broad, for a very brave public interest litigation that